Nei rā te mihi atu ki o koutou e hui nei tēnei wā, i raro i te marumaru o tēnei o ngā whare, i roto i te kaupapa o te mātauranga e hoi nei tēnei waka, nei te mihi atu ki a koutou, o kupau o kurahi, koutou o kaitahu, koutou ngā tinikau mātua kai wanginu i a tātou, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou, nā koutou tēnei hui e whakamana, nā koutou me o koutou mātauranga, kai te mihi atu ki a koutou, e kawe nei I ngā kōrero a tātou tūpuna. Nā reira tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora. It is an absolute thrill to be here with you all today. I recently came from Tonga, where we went to the koroneihana of the new king, Tupou the Sixth, and got to fly with the Gigi. That's what they call him. I'm going to stick with that. That's the Governor General, for those of you not on the inside. And we flew in the Gigi's plane, and we actually had to leave early from the celebrations because the Gigi wanted to get home for the HH, which was the Hurricanes versus the Highlanders. And I'm sure everyone in the South Island is very pleased with the outcome. You'll be pleased to know that Wellington was in mourning, still in mourning, despite the Hurricanes and the Queensland last night. But I was again in mourning because I support the Blues, but that's a whole nother story. All right. So it's wonderful to be here, and we came straight in off the plane this morning, and I'm sorry that I've kept you a little bit late. I'm really excited by the energy. I've been watching Twitter carefully, because I'm a bit of a Twitter fan nowadays, with all of the messages coming out from the kōrero. The energy inherent in the theme for this hui, and I want to acknowledge both Ako Aotearoa, the National Centre for Tertiary Teaching Excellence, and Te Tapu Waiorehua, the lead organisation for Ngaitahu, led collaborative partnership with tertiary organisations, for the key role that you play in repositioning the discourse and keeping us alert to the possibilities of change and in placing faith in the concept of transformation. Transformation is something that we in the Māori Pāti hold dear to. It is about the transforming of lives so that our whānau can realise their aspirations and their goals. And so we come here to the city that has shown the nation the meaning of resilience. A place transformed from the serenity of the garden city where I grew up to a place now living on the edge. A place where people share their art on big steel containers, where orange road cones become floral tributes, where a blank wall is the perfect canvas for street art that celebrates the very point of existence. In this fertile mind lab, it is the ideal setting for us to contemplate te whakarauora revitalisation through reflection, repositioning, and reimagining mā Māori, mō Māori, e ai kia Māori, kia whakarauora te iwi. We have the place and we also have the time in this season of Matariki. Now, Matariki is a special time for all of us. The first time I actually found the star constellation, I was sitting outside our chapel waiting for my children to come out of seminary. They do early morning scripture study. And just before the sun rises, the sky turns into a beautiful iridescent blue, and only the brightest stars remain. And so I'd been in the little dome with our kids at our kura, crawled in there and had matua show us where the stars were. So I was like, right, I got this. Tautoru, that's Orion's belt, and you put your hand up, and right next to Tautoru is Matakaheru, and go, right, put your hand over here on the other side of Matakaheru, and there was Matariki. I went, oh my goodness. Such a beautiful set of diamonds twinkling in the sky, and it makes you reflect. It makes you reflect on the year that's gone and what is coming. And that's a bit about how we tackle repositioning our thinking. It's by reflecting on what has gone before and enjoying and planning what is going to come in the head. And so in the season of Matariki, the opportunity to wake up To live every moment, to step up and look at the world anew is the ideal moment for an epiphany. Yes, that's what we've signed up for this morning, an epiphany event. Matariki is our time to reflect on the past, acknowledging those who have passed on whilst looking forward to the growth and vitality of new life that awaits. It's our time to stay warm, to gather kai, to learn, to wānanga from the first snowfall, huka matahi. It is time to feed the spirit and the soul and to learn our history, to draw close to one another and just to be. This last weekend, while kaumātua and kuia from throughout the land gathered at Te Papa to celebrate the art and magic of kapahaka, another group, some 200 Māori teachers, travelled to Ruatoki for their annual hui, Te Kāhui Whetū, dedicated towards the pursuit of improving outcomes in Māori education. At that hui, Tūhoe champion, Tamati Kruger, gave a rousing address, which inspired one of our kuia to take to her feet. That kuia was Iraia Whiu, the first Māori president of NZEI, the Primary Teachers Union, and recent recipient of a lifetime award honouring her achievements and inspiring a love of learning amongst tamariki and whānau Māori. Our kuia talked about the challenge for us all in confronting the remnants of colonisation. She shared her vision for keeping self-determination at the centre of our being. She spoke eloquently, passionately, and with grim determination about the vital need to ensure all of our kids succeed. Indeed, she touched on a theme dear to the heart and the head of our learning keynote speaker, De Pedro, who I've not met, but I've seen lots of tweets, tēnā koe, that fear of failure is not a good strategy for motivating students towards success. To emphasise her point, she used her tokotoko with spirit and left no one with any doubt that that crusade to empower every student with the power of education was a lifelong cause. Our kuia then moved to her seat, and within minutes she collapsed and she passed away. While the shock ripples have spread across the education community and whānau alike, there was a powerful message that came through the moment of ohaki, the legacy that one leaves behind. Every single teacher who attended that hui will now know the meaning of ohaki, the meaning of devoting your life to the liberation of learning. It was a formidable message for me as I thought deeply about your theme of repositioning. I think we know enough, don't we, about what we are repositioning ourselves away from. But do we know where it is that we are repositioning ourselves to? Sometimes it seems a lifetime away from 1867, when in the Parliament of the day, a place I know a little bit about, my predecessors debated whether to exterminate the natives or to civilise them through education. And if they were to civilise them, they needed to do so through a language that was more conducive to human thought. The Native Schools Act of 1867 outlawed our mother tongue by a single stroke of the legislative pen. Native schools were instructed to present a rudimentary menu of basic literacy and numeracy skills, teaching instead labouring, cooking, cleaning and nursemaiding. That's not nursing, that's cleaning up after nurses. In the debate that was had, there was a clear message about the type of citizens that this law was wanting to create. And I quote again, they said, "We need to be careful not to hunt them into education as we have hunted them into selling of their land, for fear that it might engender a spirit of resistance." Close to 150 years later, I'm so proud to be here in an education hui, reflecting on the opportunities before us all to grow that spirit of resistance, to actively encourage the moment of disruptive innovation, because innovation is the child of necessity. I hasten to suggest that the campaign is never over, that every day provides us with the challenge of clearing away the remnants of a colonial project. I remember sitting in the Ministry of Education boardroom, and Brian Annan was speaking, and they were talking about changing the world. I think, Jeff, you might have said, right, and next we'll change the world. And I looked at them both and said, well, actually, you know what? We change the world every single day. Every single day. And I truly believe that while we are here talking about education, tertiary education, education on all levels, that the most important education we will ever do will be within the four walls of our own homes. That in fact, if we want to change society more than the policies of government, more than the policies that we implement in our schools and in our educational institutions, more than that, if we want to change society, we only need to change what we do in our own homes. So, I want to remind us that that fight is never over. Only a couple of weeks ago, the Kura Kaupapa Māori o Ngā Mukapuna, in the heart of Seatoon, Wellington, was told that their guitars would be confiscated and noise control would be brought in to stop the school from practicing kapahaka on a Saturday afternoon. It was only a few years ago when a Dunedin businessman wrote to a local primary school complaining that they were flying the Māori flag, telling the principal, talk about mixed messages, when what this country needs is some national pride and a sense of belonging. Fortunately, these incidents, as alarming as they are declining in number. Okay. I'm optimistic about our future when I think even of the last week across our land. We started that week with my colleague, Māori Development Minister Tudoro Flavel, announcing a new Māori Language Commissioner, educationalist Wayne Ngata, and two fabulous young Māori wahine to join him, Professor Rawinia Higgins and Ngai Tahu's Charisma Rangipunga. The three appointees will join current members, Awanuiarangi Black and Hinurewa Poutu, on the board. On Monday, 4 rangatahi Māori flew out of Wellington to Washington, D.C. for an Indigenous conference based at the White House and established by American President Barack Obama. On Tuesday, there was the initialing of a deed of settlement for Taranaki Iwi, a vital milestone in the reconciliation journey between the tribe and the Crown. Yesterday, I attended the Net Hui in Auckland, where the theme was, the internet is everybody's business. A few weeks ago, I debated with a number of politicians whether or not the internet was a human right. If the internet can bridge the disparities of poverty, then surely the internet is a human right. Making it accessible to everyone and giving them the opportunity to learn should be everybody's right. And the internet will overcome the barriers of distance, will overcome the barriers of wealth, if those things are made accessible to children. You only need to look at the hole in the wall experiment on TED Talks if you want to Google that to figure that one out. Every session of the day at the Net Hui had a Māori meetup, bringing together talent of tangata whenua who were surfing the information highway in ways we have never previously thought possible. Of all these events, representing a repositioning of the face of Te Ao Māori, leading us into the future is a movement of younger, globally connected, culturally confident young people, many of them who are also here, positioning a pathway forward as one based on an educational framework. I want to just turn to Taranaki at this point and take from them a lesson of how we reposition ourselves into the field of nation building. Every year, the Māori Party has put forward different approaches to focus on Parihaka as a site of enormous meaning, not just for our land, but for peacemaking on a global scale. It always surprises me that when you walk out of the Wellington train station, there is a statue of Gandhi. And I look around and go, where is Te Whiti? Where is that statue? And in fact, I found out that the Indian community offered to pay for a statue of Te Whiti o Rongomai to be put up, recognising his lead in peaceful protest, influencing Gandhi and Martin Luther King. So the Māori Party have always put themselves forward to carry this take. We should be celebrating Parihaka Day, not a terrorist who blew up Parliament and burning an effigy of a guy as a celebration for Guy Fawkes. What are we thinking? Anyway. We have presented petitions to Parliament. We have called for a National Day of Reconciliation to highlight the impact of parihaka. We have championed the concept of a Peace Week from 31st of October to 5th of November to honour the heroism and peacemaking heritage established at parihaka. We need to go no further than your very own Rāpaki Pā to see the extent of the mamai carried by successive generations following the land confiscations, murder and imprisonment of their tūpuna in Taranaki. Behind the church at Rāpaki, there is a memorial stone to acknowledge the suffering of mothers. He maumahara tēnei kōhatu mō ngā mamai I pāngia e ngā matua whaia. On that stone, the story of our history is told. The memorial acknowledges the mothers and their children who were also victims, left behind with no one to care for their well-being or to defend and protect them while their men were taken to serve as slaves in and around the harbour. Taranaki prisoners died on Quail Island and were buried there, but the people of Rāpaki exhumed and reinterred them here in their cemetery. Innocent people from Taranaki, with many tribes from other parts of the country that migrated to Parihaka, were imprisoned without trial, taken further to Dunedin and to Hokitika. It is a simple stone with a profound message. On the sides are the words of other iwi, including the late Erima Henare o Te Taitokiro, the late Morven Simon of Whanganui, Waikato Tainui. And so I come back to the theme of today, repositioning, and how that relates to Māori success in tertiary education. What relevance does this kōhatu in a beautiful urupā overlooking o Tamahua or Quail Island have for education? I say it has every relevance. It is about our stories, our tribal stories, our collective memory. It reminds us of the horror of the worst impacts of colonisation. It immortalises the pain of the mothers. It speaks of a history frequently overlooked, but it also expresses in action the spirit of manaakitanga, the reaching out between iwi, the important place that understanding plays in healing. Earlier this year, o Tautahi opened its arms. It opened its arms to the mutu, welcoming us with the theme of He Nākau Aroha, expressing the gratitude of a people who were overwhelmed with the generosity from across the mutu in a period following the Canterbury earthquakes. In preparing for Matatini, Ngai Tahu released a simple booklet, Te Hā o Tahu Pōtiki, ka koroki te manu, with the CD attached. The booklet, the fourth edition in the Te Hā series, was of waiata and haka, and was especially timed to assist whānau hapururanga schools with mata and mātāwaka in learning the haka and waiata that could support Ngai Tahu, Ngai Tuahuriri, in welcoming Manuhiri to Christchurch. Repositioning ourselves, whether it is in the years following a crisis like the Rūwhenua, the century following colonial tragedy and the colonialism legacy of legislating our language away, or the acts of horror experienced by our people, or in the days and the weeks ahead when we return to our various institutions, it's all about planning for success. We will experience success when we can sing our songs, tell our histories, speak our reo, and be inspired with the spirit of resistance that keeps us young, that strengthens our connections. Repositioning ourselves is all about doing whatever it takes to maximise Māori potential, strengthening and consolidating our connections as whānau hapu and iwi, placing faith in our own proud and independent Māori voice. And lastly, I just want to tell a story that many of you have heard me tell. And I might need some tissues. I'm going to cry already. But in Wairarapa, we lost 10 children in 10 years. And one night we lost 7 of my family in one brutal act. In the last couple of days, we've heard of a young baby that was taken to hospital and has died from his injuries of assault. The impact of those crimes are far-reaching. In Wairarapa, our young people who we would take out around the country stopped telling people where they were from, because what they were met with was a sigh. They would stand up and say, "We're from Wairarapa," and the room would go, "Oh." You could hear it. They started saying, "We're from Tūhoe. We're from Ngāpuhi. We're from Ngāti Porou." Whatever part of their whakapapa they could reach to, they would. And they stopped saying they were from Wairarapa, because in those 10 years, the only thing that people recognised about being from Wairarapa was the murder of children. So what did we do to reposition ourselves? We went to the stories of our tūpuna, stories that were previously withheld from us because we had no reo. Our tūpuna, Potangarua, said that we would lose our reo in his ohaki to the people, that our reo would be lost. And today we have one kaumātua left who is quite old and is not able to go to the marae, who speaks te reo Māori fluently from birth. One. The next kaumātua who takes up that role is 50 years old, who learnt his reo in a classroom with most of the rest of us. So what did we do? We fulfilled the prophecy of Potangarua, because the rest of his prophecy was, "Mā ngā tamariki te reo I whakahokia mai. Mā ngā tamariki te reo I whakahokia mai." With reo comes knowledge of tikanga, of cultural history, of all our stories. We have 120 volumes of manuscript in the Alexander Turnbull Library recorded by our tūpuna for just this moment, because they knew where the future was going. And so we brought back our stories and told them how great your ancestors were. Tū Tawake, known for his greatness because he saved his sister Tauta Harakeke from certain death when she took herself away to die in the bush rather than be betrothed to some koroheke when she was 14 years old. And he was a warrior and a chief. He whakatō tāne no tūtawake he toa. Not because he was a chief. He wasn't the man because he was a chief. He was the man because he looked after his whānau. And so we started this series of the man. So-and-so was the man because he did this. Your tūpuna. So-and-so was the man because he did that. Te Māori, whatohoro, nuku pewa pewa. Aromea was the woman. Taitu o te rangi was the woman. Niniwai I te rangi was the woman, because she stood on the marae and she claimed her space to speak about kotahitanga. She marched into the middle of Papawai marae, she hitched up her skirt, she mimied in a pot and she drank it. She threw it at the feet of the men and said, "If any of you can do that, I'll sit down and shut up." And while they were aghast, she launched into her kōrero and she claimed her space and she spoke for Māori, for kotahitanga movement in the Māori Parliament all across the country. She went to Waitangi and spoke, and all the Ngāpuhi and Ngāti Hinewalot, Pennies Whanaunga, got up and said, hey, sit down, what are you doing? She wore a korowai around, not a korowai, a piu-piu around her shoulders that she rolled up pound notes and shoved them into the gaps of the middle. She took it off her shoulders, threw it at their feet and said, "Here, have my scraps." And while they were aghast, she launched into her kōrero. The woman. We told the stories of our ancestors so that our young people could remember the mana and the greatness of who they were. So that they didn't go, "Ooh, I'm from Tūhoe, yeah." Well, they were, that's cool too. But they were from Wairarapa. They lived their whole lives in Wairarapa. And they needn't be ashamed of being from there. Nō reira e te iwi. Placing our faith in our own proud and independent Māori voice, mā Māori, mō Māori, e ai ki a Māori, kia whakarauora te iwi. Wai nei tāku, tēnei ata e mihi kau atu ki a koutou, a hapai nei tēnei kaupapa, poipoi nei a matau tamariki mo ka puna o te ao, kia tū rangatirai, kia tū Māori mai, tātou katoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.